So I guess we probably need to at some point record something like, welcome to this podcast. It does not have a name yet. We're trying to crowdsource a name from you all.
You all? Y'all?
Y'all. All y'all.
Welcome to whatever this podcast is called. We don't have a name for it yet. This is episode 0.
Can we just call it whatever? I bet it's taken.
If it's not taken, that's the thing. We've come up with several really good names, and both of us are avid podcast listeners and fans of the platform. We're familiar with it, but all the good names are taken, so we'll come up with something.
And most of the bad ones.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad names, but they're most of they're good podcasts. Anyway, so I'm Grant Walden, and
I'm Dan Williams.
Yeah, so welcome to our podcast, episode 0. Okay, so here's the story. Dan and I were talking earlier this week, a few days ago, trying to decide how to get started on this. We have a few ideas. Basically, the best thing to do is just get started.
Yeah, I mean, you recorded an interview with Bishop Gunn. Was that earlier this week? And
that was Saturday evening.
6 of one, half dozen the other.
It was at Muscle Shoals Sound, the original Muscle Shoals Sound at 3614 Jackson Highway. We are currently in my studio, Heartel Studios, which is at Cypress Moon, ironically enough, the second location of Muscle Shoals Sound. So, historical location. I've been here almost 6 years. You believe this is going to be the 10th anniversary of Heartel? That's crazy, right? I guess I should get some T-shirts to sell.
That makes about sense.
Maybe start making some money.
Because you were...
October of 08.
Was that when you were originally set up in Decatur, or no?
No, I did that in the spare bedroom of a house.
Oh, wow.
Then I moved to Decatur.
That's right. This is not supposed to just be a non-fiction interview format, which we're going to be doing quite a lot of that.
Right.
But we're also trying to do some fiction podcasts, good old-fashioned radio plays, essentially, if you're not familiar with that sort of thing. Got a couple of scripts ready to go, finished, and we just got to record them. And we got some folks looking at doing voice acting on that yet. I don't know if we have heard back from any of them, have we?
Yeah, a few were on board.
Okay,
I don't want to really just mention names right now.
Yeah, I'd like to hold off until everything is done.
Well, one guy who, real good friend, worked with a lot in the studio. It's a great, songwriter. And
maybe has an office in the building.
Does yeah. Right next door, actually. I've got to get him the script. I got the Google Play thing. I'm going to just slide one under his door.
Oh, did you get it printed off?
No, I have to print it off, but I got to slide one under his door and let him. I've been trying to get that mix on that jazz song done. That was where my focus was.
You have real work to do.
So, I'm excited about this.
Yeah, but I'm having fun. It's not work yet.
Yeah, well, yeah, we are.
6 months.
Well, that's the thing. Okay, so we've rambled a lot, but here's the thing that has why we're so excited about this. One, I don't know anybody around this area that's doing it. I know it's big in Australia. Podcasts are big worldwide.
Right.
So it increases, you have a worldwide audience. And, I know the fictional podcast thing is big in the Pacific Northwest. It's big with like Tanis and Black Tapes. And then you've got Welcome to Nightville, as I mentioned earlier. They're out of Australia, am I correct?
No, they're visiting Australia.
They're visiting Australia.
I think they're out of New York. I'd have to double check that.
Okay,
yeah.
see, that is one that I have. Everybody talks about how you've got to listen to.
Oh, you do have to listen to Nightville.
But admittedly, I haven't.
Well,
I've not listened to Rabbits yet either. But
I enjoyed Rabbits.
See, I started out on Tanis, and I listened to a few episodes of Black Tapes, but
is Tanis really doing it for you?
Well, I haven't listened to any more. I reached a point where I listened to all of them.
Yeah.
It was like I went, you
binged it, yeah.
I binged, and it took me, I don't know how many episodes that was.
There's at least 30
episodes. It was a few
right?
years worth,
yeah.
actually. Yeah, it was 30 or 40 episodes.
They just started season 4 a couple months back.
But it was really great. And first of all, Dan approached me. How did this go down? You just hit me up, I think, one day. It's like, hey, how would you feel about, you have any interest whatsoever?
Yeah. I don't remember exactly how it went down, but I know I messaged you about it.
Yeah, you hit me up and said, hey, do you have any interest whatsoever in doing a fictional podcast? First, I really didn't quite understand what the question was that you were asking, but I was like, this sounds cool. Tell me more about this. And you said, well, hey, check these out that I've been listening to. And I did when I got the chance. Tanis was just the first one I checked out. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And this is kind of an old idea in a new format. I've always had an interest in acting.
Yeah.
And my minor is in journalism. And I'm not really doing anything with that. And I've had people have told me, man, you got a voice for radio. And I'm like, well, tell the guys in radio to hire me,
That's really different from whenever they say that you have a face for radio. When they say you have a voice for radio, that's a good thing.
Well, maybe that's what they're getting at, That's a good one. I haven't heard that in a while.
Oh.
But I got to remember that. I got to use that one. But, it was just kind of, you approached me, and I really immediately had an interest to it, and I kind of got the idea, correct me if I'm wrong, that you really weren't sure if I would be interested.
No, yeah. As a matter of fact, I think if we go back and if we were ever inclined and, if we could convince Mark Zuckerberg to produce the messages, I'm pretty sure
He's probably producing them now. I'm sorry.
Sure.
That's...
But no, I think I distinctly remember I asked if you or anyone, if you knew anyone that would be interested, because kind of what you're saying, I don't know anybody around here that's seriously tried to do anything like this. And that's not to say that maybe no one's tried. It's just that I wasn't aware at the time of anyone doing it.
Well, see, first thing is a good buddy of mine and my wife's, Haley's. So if you hear me refer to Haley, his wife's Kara. So if you hear me hear us refer to them, that's who we're talking about.
I think they're unwitting accomplices in this as well. I know Haley has certainly been doing.
Well, she's an incredible writer, and she's acted in plays, and we're all musicians in this whole thing. And I've got my studio, so we're kind of utilizing our resources. And but here's we're kind of heading west to get to Atlanta, and we're in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. So if that makes any sense, we're not on the East Coast. But I had an interest in acting, but I've not really ever had the courage to go out in front of people and do. I've been in a few plays, but it's been real small parts and nothing that I had to remember a bunch of lines, because I've struggled with remembering songs that I write. But
muscle memory is about the only thing that saves me.
Yeah, I mean, it was something that I was kind of secretly interested in that I've not really voiced with anybody except Haley. Like, hey, I would love to try this, and never had. So when you hit me up, I was like, absolutely. But back to my friend, BJ Keaton, who has Geek Fitness podcast. He's all into like running and health fitness, and she works at the library, his wife, and they're really super cool people, great friends. He has been in the podcast world doing things and being successful with that. So I've talked with him, but he's the only person around here that I really know that's been doing a podcast and has been doing anything successking with it. And I'm sure there's others, but he's the only one I personally know.
Yeah, I know a couple in Huntsville.
Yeah, I'm aware of, but I'm talking like I know the person.
Right.
So you can actually have that conversation with them and like, hey, what did you do that worked? What did you do that didn't? So I'm kind of picking brains, just to kind of figure this thing out. But everyone I've talked with, like Fletch is on board. He's wanting to help in some way. We don't know how he's going to help, but this is in its infancy. We just decided the other day, let's just sit down and talk. Let's do an episode 0. Let's just talk about why we're doing this and what it is we're actually doing.
Because, I approached you about this almost a year ago.
Oh, I think it's been over a year.
And so we finally just said,
a lot of things happen. Yeah, a lot of things have happened in a short amount of time in my life specifically. Good things, but just a lot. So it's been adjusting. I've gotten more busy in the studio and mixing and recording. So it's great. This has been a thing that's been in its infancy and has been for a while, because Dan teaches at 2 colleges. And, I've got my wife and kids, and he's married, and we have our lives, and a lot of things have happened in the year for both of us. I had secretly been wanting to do this, and a lot of people have approached me over the past 3 or 4 years. Dude, you should start a podcast. And I've been wanting to. Quite frankly, just not knowing how, being so backlogged on mixes, all of this stuff just kind of piled on itself. I worked 3rd shift in a plant for three and a half years, and would do the music side hustle and tried to live a normal life like I wasn't working graveyard shift. All of that added up over time to me being sick. And I mean, you had all your stuff going on too, moving and all that.
And the band's doing well,
Yeah.
we're on the road more than we're not. And
Yeah,
at least
Dan's
on the
in.
weekends.
Tell us about your band.
Yeah, the Wolves of Chernobyl.
I recorded. What song was it I recorded
It was
here?
actually a 4-in-1, The Halls of the King, and that album came out. It did okay at college. It did the college chart thing. It did all right. Did pretty well, honestly. I'm being falsely humble.
How high up did it get on the
It
chart?
broke the top 50. That's all. I
Dude, that's
remember.
cool. That's not just doing the college thing and doing
Well-
the chart, man. Own that.
Well,
That's awesome.
I was proud of it, and
We need to get some of those guys in if they'd be up for it.
I'm sure they
Talk with
would.
them.
Everybody in that band really loves podcasts. That's actually how I found podcasts. Was we were on the way to South by Southwest a couple of years ago when, it was before we were doing well enough to have a vehicle that could break down on us when we were on the way home. Not that that's happened twice in the past year or anything like that. But
I just got my car out of the shop last week.
oh, dude, I don't know
So-
how we got home last weekend. I was asleep, and somewhere around Birmingham, the transmission shifted so hard that it woke me up, and then made this
Oh, no.
kind of clunky sound the rest of the way home. Which, for those of you that are not from Alabama, Birmingham to Muscle Shoals is still about 2.5 hours.
Yeah, we don't
thereabouts.
measure things in mileage
Who
or
knows?
kilometers. We measure things.
in time.
In
yeah.
time.
Which honestly it kind of makes more sense to me. But anyway, no, the band's doing well. But so yeah, we were on the way out to South by Southwest, and I was trying to sleep because there's a pattern here. If you put me in a vehicle, I'm going to try to sleep. Which is really terrible when I'm driving.
Well, the
I guess,
schedule
but-
we've all been working, especially you too. I mean,
Well,
it was
yeah.
one of the only downtimes you would have to sleep.
Yeah, it's really good for that. It's really good for grading papers and going to sleep. But Tyler put on the black tapes, and I was listening to it, and I just kind of fell in love with it because at first I wasn't sure if I was listening to something that was, if I was listening to a nonfiction or a fictional
exactly.
podcast.
That's what I loved about Tanis.
Yeah.
So I started with that, and it was like, I'm pretty sure this is fiction, but wow, this is done so well that I'm
Right.
not really 100% sure.
And I love that format, and it led me to listen to more. And, these days I'm really binging I have finished. I'm on my second listen through the Magnus archives. But, Pacific Northwest, we were talking about those earlier. The studio that does, Tanis and Black Tapes and Rabbits, they released the last movie a couple weeks ago. And it's
I
just,
didn't realize they did Rabbits.
Yeah.
See, I haven't gotten into listening to that. I knew they did Black Tapes and
Yeah.
Tanis, but
well, they did something really cool a couple of weeks ago. They released I say one and done. They released 6 30-minute episodes of a series called The Last Movie. That it is a Tanis tie-in, but
Really?
supposedly it's only going to be those 6 episodes and it's done. It's not serialized, and they just dropped them all at once, and it's really quite good. I'm only about halfway through. I was listening to it on the way here. Point is, we love stories, and we love music, and we love interviews, and we're just trying to find some way to make all of that, to bring all of that out, right? To make all of that work, and because Grant said we're both musicians, and that's true, and we're very fortunate in being in this area. Quite a lot of talent comes through that it's not they're not necessarily the people.
they don't have the voice that I feel like personally that I
Right.
feel like they need.
And that's what I was trying to say. They're extraordinarily important to the music you listen to, but they're never going to be the people, or maybe not never, but they're not typically the people that show up on TMZ or in Rolling Stone. Any
Some
of
of
the,
them don't want to be.
right?
I personally know guys. I had a conversation with one of the musicians who, about a month ago, we were in a session. He played bass, and he just got off the road from Europe a year or so ago. I may be getting the time
Right.
frame wrong, but
Probably ready to
he
go
was
to
just
bed.
like, he was just like, look, my love is the studio. I like being on the road, and that's cool. But he loves the studio. He loves the creatives. So there's guys that do. They spend their life in that world. They don't have to get the quote-unquote accolades and the applause by the hundreds of thousands. They're getting the accolades and the applause from people that they admire and that they genuinely like, the artists.
Yeah.
Like, who do you really want to impress? So, I mean, that's his world. So he's really just enjoying the creative process.
You know, I get that too, because there's a big payoff to that. I don't think I told you about
There's
this.
a huge payoff.
I didn't want to sound like I was bragging or anything like that, but I think the only person I've told about this was my wife, because it sounds like I would, I guess, maybe just be bragging. The other week, I pulled up beside somebody at a red light here in Florence, technically in Florence. It was before you crossed the bridge. For those of you not from the area, the Shoals is collectively 4 cities that have not realized they're just one big city yet. I'm not wrong.
Exactly. It's the Quad Cities that used to be
Yeah.
the Tri-Cities. That's basically just one city.
But yeah, I pulled up beside this car, and you know, they had their windows down at the light, and you know, I could hear their music, and lo and behold, they were listening to one of our songs. And
Really?
Yeah.
Do you
and I was
remember
like,
which song it was?
It was "We Lucky Few." It was.
That's
It was
cool.
actually
That's a good one.
It was the one that hit like 46. Or
That's actually
45.
probably my favorite one of yours. You know,
It's a good one. I like it.
that's
But
cool. I mean,
yeah.
because I mean, that's one of those weird things when you hear
It
somebody.
weirded me out.
Yeah. Well,
wasn't
I
sure if I
imagine
was-
so, because too, if they're riding with their windows down, either their air conditioner or doesn't work at all, or you got to admit, if you're riding with your windows down and you're listening to music loud enough for other people to hear, you kind of secretly want other people to hear that music. So that's got to mean something.
Yeah,
that
drive faster. I hear banjo music. but
really,
no,
I mean,
so I was excited about that. I just didn't bring it up because it sounded.
no, that's awesome.
It seems like something that you would say, you know, bragging.
But it's
and
not
a bizarre brag.
It's not. It's not bragging. It's you're genuinely proud of that.
Yeah, I didn't
that
know
is
what to
a
do.
milestone. That's like a songwriter. You know, I'm a song. Well, we're both
Yeah.
songwriters. I mean, we've written several things together. We should write some more. Actually, it's one of those things. Like from a songwriting standpoint, or I do a lot of producing, or you know, a mix I've done, or something like that. You know, let's say someone wants to cut your song. They want to record it. And it's like, wow. And I just got a mix back from a jazz tune that I just did. And the guy that is a multi-platinum producer, I just found out I've got to get the Pro Tools files to him. Either his wife or one of his artists he's working with might do a vocal on it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I can't say who because first of all, I really don't know.
But
And so I'm really nervous because I haven't like gotten feedback on, does he like the mix? Does he hate it? Does he just like the song and want to remix it? And,
Yeah.
you know, really my only involvement in that was mixing and recording a vocal. So if he replaces the vocal and the mix, it's like, well, whatever.
I
But
touched this.
I touched this. I had to
Yeah.
give him the files. Like, how do you put that in a liner note and the credits for the song? File transfer.
I
you know?
worked on this song, but every single thing I did got cut.
It's like, is there a Grammy for that?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Closest to being involved.
A Grammy for deleted files.
Oh, and
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, everybody I've talked with about the podcast thing has shared any idea that we've had and asked if they would be interested in maybe voice acting, have shared a script with or anything like that, has been super pumped. I really thought that's why we're here doing this episode 0, talking this out. Dan approached me about this fictional podcast thing that was actually script writing. He approached me about this, and he had this idea for a while. Wasn't really sure if I would be interested or if anybody else would be interested. So it's really exciting that people are interested. I'm really stoked that so many people are excited about it. But
that's
also,
exactly
I had
it,
been
yeah.
secretly, you know, lots of people telling me and me actually wanting to start a podcast, but not really sure how to do it. I've listened to podcasts for years, but
we have no excuse not to do this.
That's
We have
exactly the
everything
point.
we need.
I've got theme music behind me on this bass. I feel like I'm talking over a Seinfeld.
So what's
I
the
was-
deal
I
with
was wanting to do-
podcasts?
What?
So what's the deal with podcasts?
So we're so ADD. This is
Yes.
so bad.
This will get cut.
This will get cut probably. Maybe it won't.
Unless you're listening to this because you subscribe to the Patreon that doesn't exist yet.
Yeah,
But
so we have a lot of ideas. Dan approached me with this fictional podcast idea, and I had been wanting to do the interview podcast thing, but I didn't want to lock it into just music and entertainment. I wanted to, you know, talk with entrepreneurs and business owners because a lot of those things are similar. Like somebody owning a brewery or a coffee
Yeah.
house or an arts collective. I had been wanting to do the interview side, you'd been wanting to do
Yeah, I've been wanting to do the fiction
the
side.
fiction
for
side.
just about
So it's just
forever.
basically like, why don't we just do both and put our resources together and make this thing happen? Because I'm equally excited about both.
Especially because, they both sound like fun, frankly. They both sound... I think there's space to be explored in both. I know there's limitless potential on the fiction side of things, because one of the amazing things about, podcasts, but let's call it what it is, it's a 21st century radio play.
Basically.
You're not limited by a special effects budget or anything like that. You're only limited by... Whoever you are out here listening to this right now, you're limited to your imagination and what you hear and how we present it. And
Exactly.
so it's almost limitless. It truly is. And then you take the interview side of things, and there's so many people out there doing so many interesting things. It's a wide, wide world, and the more people you meet, the more you talk to these folks. There's so much going on. It's almost a shame
Absolutely.
to hide it under the bushel,
Well, that's exactly the point. We wanted to get together and talk about why are we doing this. One of my favorite comedians, Michael Jr., he's hilarious, very brilliant guy, talks about know your why. Because your why, if you know your why, he says, which I 100% agree with, that defines your what. So the what is the podcast. Why are we doing the podcast? I mean, why would you say you're wanting to do it?
Well, not to get too cheesy or hammy or anything like that, but a few years back, I attempted to quit music. I decided my life would be so much easier.
Who
if
among
I
us
did-
hasn't?
Yeah. I just thought it would make life easier if I could get a normal job and never have to worry about wanting to play music or book shows or try to get publicity for a record, anything like that. If I never had to do that struggle again, my life would be better. And I say all that to say this. I managed to stop for about 2 months, and then I realized that I missed every bit about it. I couldn't stop thinking about it.
The old saying is, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. Well,
That's not true.
it's a different type of work. Though.
Yeah.
You can work 16, 18 hours doing what you love.
Right.
But if you are doing a menial task that you're just like, oh, why am I here? 30 minutes seems like 2 days.
Exactly. Over the past couple of weeks, I've probably sent off 25 emails to various record reviewers, things of that nature. Okay, yeah, that's work. I spent time doing that, but it paid off. I had one. So far, I've had one hit me back up. So, yeah, I like this. I want to write a review.
Okay, so
I
you
want to
sent
do
how
it.
many?
At least 25. That's a very low number.
Okay, so let's say 25, but you got one.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is...
Astronomically low?
No. That's actually pretty good odds.
So,
I mean, if you're playing an odds game and statistics,
And it is a
that's
numbers
actually
game.
yeah, it is. It absolutely is.
my point, I guess, I kind of derailed. The whole thing I was trying to get around to, I didn't want to point it back around to the music issue. I just want to say it reached a point where everything I did pointed back to, I need to be doing this. And for about a year and a half now, I don't think I've gone a day without thinking about the podcast in some way. It may be the business side of it, it might be the interview side of it, or it might be, hey, you've been working on this script now for about a month, and I'm pretty sure you've added 200 new words in the past 2 weeks. When are you going to do something about that?
I've been reading, one of my favorite authors is John Acuff, entrepreneur writer. I don't know if you've read anything of his. Have you?
No, I mostly
Okay.
do fiction.
We're both avid readers.
Right.
I mean, you're like Stephen King fanatic, which kind of leads into the fictional podcast kind of
Yeah.
thing, is the type of stuff that we read, which explains my side. Is I spend a lot of time, I read fiction, but most of what I read is kind of entrepreneurial or how-to stuff. I really just thrive on that.
And that's
John
important
Acuff is
stuff
one of
to
my
read.
favorite authors. He's got a book I really recommend. I'm about halfway through it, called Finish. The subtitle is Give Yourself the Gift of Done. Basically killing perfectionism, because if there is a picture next to the word perfectionist, I'm probably there in the dictionary. It's one of those things that our culture will facilitate or support or pat you on the back for, just like workaholism,
Yeah, we call
which
it the
I
grind, but
which
it's
which
not.
I dealt with.
Yeah.
But hustle, he says, is an act of focus, not frenzy. For like 3-4 years, I was in a frenzy of just not sleeping much.
Right.
Just, hey, can you be here to record this? Or we got this going, this show. Yeah, cool. I felt like I was going to miss an opportunity, but really, I ended up making myself sick and not on my A game. It was taking me longer to get things done because I was exhausted. You will never reach a point to where everything is absolutely perfect, and it sets you up for failure. It truly does. And I, a year ago, would not have said that. I would not have admitted that. I would have been like, that's the hustle, that's the grind.
Right.
I mean, I've even got to where on my phone, I'll set 15, 20-minute or maybe 30-minute alarm. Even if it's a 3 to a 5-minute ear break,
Come back to it kind of fresh.
walk out of the
because, yeah,
room. We're down here by the beautiful Tennessee River, and they call it the Singing River. A lot of times if I'm recording a band or if it's just me down here by myself, I'll tell the band, hey, let's go see what the river's up to. All that to say, give yourself the gift of done. And I'm all about being the best at everything, but
Yeah, this
he
isn't
may,
to say just throw something bad
no,
out
he
there.
uses an analogy. It's like, say you want to lose 10 pounds, but you lose 8.
It's not that you've not accomplished anything.
You've done something great.
Right.
But a lot of people will stop.
And they see it as a
And they
failure.
see it as failure. And that's the way I have been for years. There's been a whole lot in both of our lives that has led to this. I've been working with all these guys in Muscle Shoals for a while in the studios, and some stuff in Nashville, LA, but mostly here in the Shoals. And you've been actually on the road. For the most part, I'm in the studio world or I'm writing. You're on the road for the most part. You guys have done the recording stuff, but on the
Yeah.
artist side of things and the band, you've been doing that. The podcast was an interest that we both had. I think this was a conversation it was at least over a year ago that you approached me.
I know for a fact that I wrote the first episode script. I know for a fact I wrote that last May because
Well, it's April now,
Yeah.
so I mean,
we had to have talked about it before
We-
that
we
because I
did.
would not have sat down and
a lot has led to this. I like what you said earlier. We don't have any reason to not do this. We don't have an excuse to not. I mean, we have the equipment, we have the people. And to me, the interview side of things, it's all relevant. But to me, it's almost like the same narrative keeps getting the publicity. If you're aware of anything about the Muscle Shoals area, you know, Aretha Franklin, Wilson Pickett, the Rolling Stones, those guys are all talked about. But I just recently found out that the very building we're in, Original Disco Man, part of it by James Brown, was recorded here. That was a huge hit. I mean, for you to not mention James Brown much, that just kind of... It's
kind of
like,
an
wow.
insult, right? That's kind of a diss, just a little bit.
Well, I mean, there no James Brown, no Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Just watch his dance moves, and there you go. There's a lot more history that is not really untold, but it's not known as widely. You know, I don't think it's like any ill intention. I just think it's some things get more attention than the others.
I mean, let's be honest. Maybe I'm oversimplifying here, but the music industry likes its products that it can put on a shelf, put on TV. They smile, they look pretty. Okay, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, you know. But it's so overlooked that these acts are not just the one person, the face that they're selling. There are dozens of people behind all of those tracks. And some of them are right here, you know?
Yeah, a lot of them are right here. Well, the idea is the interview side currently, part of that for the Shoals area is going to be called Muscle Shoals Storytellers. So there's that. And the fictional side is Polybius.
At least that first podcast.
The first,
you know.
the first is going to be.
We'll see how long it lasts. I don't want to serialize it and drag it until it's...
No, I don't
Until it
want to.
doesn't
I don't
make
want
sense
to. I don't
anymore.
want to kill it. We don't have all the episodes written. We don't have all of that stuff done. I want to let it do organically.
You can tell whenever a show is being dragged on, and
It's
you know,
incredible up to the last little bit.
You know, you see that from time to time.
You do, and I don't want to do that.
Well, no,
we're,
but I
not,
guess-
we're not.
That's one thing I don't want to do. I don't kind of bringing it back. We're about to start talking about pop culture. When the show was done, I wanted it to be done. We have several ideas that need to be explored. Several more
Right, the
stories to
Polybius
tell.
is not the only idea that
Yeah.
we're gonna.
It's just
This
the
is the one
first
we're
one.
that's one we're starting with. But also the interview side, there's other things that they would like to talk about that they're often not asked.
Right.
Because it's the same kind of thing. Oh, tell us what it was like when the Rolling Stones came or when Leonard Skinner was here. And that's awesome. It's great. And I'm not trying to play any of that down at all because it deserves every bit of attention that it gets.
But it's been
However,
asked so
it's like
much.
I would like to give these guys a platform.
Yeah, talk about yourself.
Well, not necessarily just that, but they're doing things now, not just 40 years ago. I mean,
Right.
they've been doing things.
Well, it's kind of like, you know, maybe this isn't quite the same thing, but The Doors kept going after Jim Morrison died. Queen kept going after Freddie Mercury died. I think it's fair to say that a lot of those band members do not get the notoriety that they deserve. And part of the reason they kept pushing on was because they were not getting the notoriety they deserved, despite the fact that everybody in Queen wrote at least 3 #1 hits.
Never mind that, what's the guitar player's name from Queen? Brian May.
Brian May.
He's like a
astrophysicist.
Astrophysicist. He's a genius.
And
he's not just the guitar player from Queen. He is a scientist.
Yeah, but I guess my point is we're talking about legendary bands, and there's still quite a lot of forgetfulness that happens. They were never the people out front. They were never the people. They were never the glory guys.
And again, talking about Queen, that's understandable to a point because, Freddie Mercury.
And Freddie Mercury would overshadow the sun.
He casts a big shadow. He's Freddie Mercury.
So, that's kind of not fair, but...
No, but I get your point, though, because there's much more to this Muscle Shoals story. There's much more to a lot of the music industry itself story that doesn't get told, and our angle is to give a platform for that.
Engineers
but also,
need a voice, producers need a voice, session musicians need a voice.
Need a voice. Well, also at the same time, being 100% honest, we don't 100% know what exactly we're doing with this.
This is going to be a baptism by fire sort of thing.
Yeah. So but I'm excited about it simply because of that. The Bishop Gunn interview really solidified that for me because the way they opened up to me really quickly and easily was like, wow, it's been a while since I've done an interview. And really, it's just an organic guys hanging, talking sort of thing. I'm excited to see where this goes naturally.
Right.
So to say that we don't have a plan or that we don't really have ideas is an inaccurate statement, but I also don't want to put it in a box and nail the lid shut. I want to see what happens.
Yeah, I think we've both been around long enough to know that you can make fantastic plans. You can plot out every step of the way what you want to do. You can say, this is what we're going to do now. This is what we're going to be doing 6 months from now. And sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. Sometimes you find something that is better. Or a better fit, at least.
Absolutely.
And you prefer to go down that path. So, these ideas you had, okay, that's great. They were good ideas. They're not what happened. So it's kind of hubris to say that this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it, and this is where we're going to be in 2 years. We can't do that. Go on and do what we want to do.
To kind of wrap this up, what ideally, though, I know we can't 100% predict the future, but 2 years from now, what is your overall hope and idea for where you could see this going?
I'm almost terrified to say this because, it seems to be a consistent pattern that whenever I say something and end up getting what I want, it's like there's a fantastic Placebo song called Protect Me From What I Want. But it seems like every time I say something and end up getting what I want, it turns out to not be what I wanted at all. But ideally, in 2 years, I've always thought that I'd be happy if I could make a living telling stories because I love telling stories. If I didn't do that, if I didn't love doing it, I wouldn't have gone to school to do it. I wouldn't still do it, even though nobody pays me to do it.
And that's a good point.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that if you just enjoy what you're doing, you'll do it. You obviously got to make money and pay your bills, but at the same time, that's a real pure definition of doing what you love.
Yeah, but the well does get poisoned, though. There's a fantastic writer. He writes, I guess you'd call it speculative fiction. Spanish writer Carlos Ruiz Zafón. His books are translated in English, and they're fantastic. One of his books, in the opening paragraph, it might actually be the opening sentence, I don't recall, but he does say something to the effect of the first time that a writer gets paid for a story, their soul is poisoned. Because then you constantly have this looming thought that, okay, I got paid to do this. Maybe I can make a living doing this. Maybe I can do this all the time and keep getting paid.
Well, that's interesting.
Well, it happened. It happened to me in high school. So for the past 12 years, I've had this looming thought of it is possible to make money doing this. That's not what I'm here. I'm not here to make money, but
we hope to, though.
It'd be nice.
If anybody wants to toss some money our way, we'll gladly take it.
No,
but yeah, that's not the main motivation of this. We just are purely doing this for the enjoyment.
Well, that's kind of thing. It's a creative.
It's a creative outlet for us, and we hope to make money doing it. But it's an outlet that we both need.
Yeah.
I feel like, personally speaking for myself, not necessarily for you, but from conversations we've had, we both need to do this for several reasons.
I've kind of given up on writing books, writing novels. I don't think that... It's not that I don't think that format's interesting anymore. It's just that...
Well, you're in a different season is all that amounts to.
Yeah, right now.
I can't really imagine you not writing books forever.
I haven't...
But
I was about to say, I I've got something I've been working on. But I think it might have died on the operating table about 8 months back.
Which brings me to an interesting point. It's an idea that we've talked about possibly releasing maybe an ebook PDF format of the Polybius podcast, like the script or something in that form. I'm not exactly sure of the formatting, but that's an idea that we've tossed around as well. So if you're interested, let us know.
Oh, yeah. Well, and, I'm going back to Welcome to Night Vale. I think they're kind of the gold standard for what does success with a fictional podcast look like. They're touring the world doing live readings of a podcast. 10 years ago, who would have thought that was a thing that would ever happen? The authors from that, they've got #1 New York Times bestselling novels that are very much just Welcome to Night Vale books that come to find out those stories were not podcast stories, they were novel stories. So I guess that's the gold standard when you look at success.
Right.
It's not the money aspect. I'm not trying to do this to, I don't want to be Stephen King wealthy. I'm not trying to do that. But
Oh, shoot, I'll take Stephen King wealthy.
Well, I wouldn't say no, but I think if we're being honest, all creatives that try to make a living at their craft, ultimately, at the end of the day, you're happy. If you put food on the table and pay a bill, then
absolutely,
that's tremendous success. Well, that's going to your great happy success.
What defines success for you. And I mean, that's kind of like, I was talking about earlier is I was just super busy.
Right.
Not necessarily doing things that I wanted to do, but doing things I felt like would move the needle forward a little bit for me, but it necessarily didn't.
Yeah, your reward was sickness.
Exactly. But I did learn a lot about myself. And I did do a lot of cool things in a very short amount of time. So it definitely had its blessings. But for me, this is sort of an outlet that I simply just need to do this.
Right.
And there's a myriad of reasons of why, but, and I could go down that list, but I need to do it. I hope this is successful. I think it will be. I think so. I mean, I've had several people telling me, man, you guys need to do a podcast. And I'm like, well, finally, after 3 or 4 years, it's happening.
Hey, you people that have been telling Grant to do a podcast, make sure you share that podcast with your friends, with your family.
Yeah, tell them all about it, please.
I do have one last thing I'd like to say, because I don't want to leave it on that note of, I don't want it to sound like we're just here to make a living off of this. That's not necessarily true, because you said something a moment ago, that depends on your definition of success. And I will tell you, I've been in bands where I was able to make a little bit of money, and they were not as creatively rewarding as the band I'm in now. And because when you said this, it made me think of something that happened about 6 months ago. It was not a review that we looked for, and it was not a big review. The reviewer, I don't know who they were, and I checked out their website, and I'd never heard of them. And, it's a well put together website, but if they had more than 50 readers a month, I would have been very surprised. But they found us out of nowhere, and they had just the kindest things to say. And it was organic, and it was kind, but it was so rewarding. Because on some level, as a creative, I don't mean to backtrack over what I just said. I think if you talk to anyone that's a creative, and they're seriously trying to be a professional, they would be lying to you if they said their goal was not to pay the bills. Right? But they're trying to earn a living with their craft. But at the same time, I don't know that any of them could honestly tell you that it's not immensely rewarding in a completely different way whenever that work finds a home, when it finds an audience that really appreciates it.
It's kind of finding your niche, too.
Right.
And it's also allowing you to do more of the same. If you can fund it and you're not having to work the grind of some horrible job that sucks your time.
I love my job. But if I weren't having to grade research papers this week, I could be writing scripts,
Exactly. It's just finally come to a head that we're like, okay, let's pull the trigger on this and let's get started. I've not been this excited about something in a while. Kind of back to what I was saying earlier is, just exhausting yourself. I actually had the thought and said out loud to Haley, this was over a year ago, man, I don't want to go to the studio. And it was an immediate moment for me of a light bulb going off of, okay, wow, you're going to the studio to work with, I don't even remember who it was, but it was some pretty big name session guys.
That's a sign the well's getting poisoned. You've got to make a change.
Well, it was also a sign of, it was like, man, people would love to just be in the room. And I'm going to be doing this. And I remember exactly what session it was. One of my songs was getting recorded.
And you didn't want to be there for
I
that.
didn't even want to. It wasn't that I didn't want to be there. It was that I wanted to lay in bed more.
That makes sense.
I was genuinely excited about it. However, it was one of those things where it's like, man, I am tired. I was unable to be excited, genuinely excited for that moment that
Depression.
you work. Well, not only that, but which, yeah, that's true, because there was definitely an element of that. But it was more that I had spent my time exhausting myself doing things that took away from the time that would have allowed me to have that excitement. I guess I didn't put myself on my schedule. I put everybody else and
Right.
everything else. It is one of those things that, wow, this is really cool. So a lot of people would just like to be in this room. At the time, there was some big event that people were paying a lot of money, a few $1,000s for a table. You know, one of those big red carpet events or something was like the weekend before or a couple weeks before in town. I'm like, man, these people are paying this kind of money to just go see these guys perform live, and I'm not even wanting to get out of bed. So I kind of had a light bulb moment of like, okay, you got to get stuff straight. You got to start saying no to the wrong things and yes to the right things, because no is a very powerful word, and so is yes. I became a yes man, keeping myself busy thinking, oh, I don't want to miss this opportunity. This may be it. This might lead to something. But I reached a point realizing that every project that comes along is not a project that I need to work on. There may be somebody better suited for that than me. Trying to get your name in some liner notes and attached to something that you can share on social media or whatever can become an addiction, quite frankly, and workaholism is rewarded by our society, and I became a workaholic. I had to say, hey, I'm Grant, I'm a workaholic, which is a thing that in the arts you see a lot of.
I think it's part of the culture.
What is it, overnight success takes 10 years or something?
Yeah.
Who says that?
I think it was. I think it's a great paraphrase. I'm pretty sure. I feel
not-
like I read it out of a Stephen King foreword or essay or something of that nature. About something along the lines of, after 10 years of hard work, you too can become an overnight success.
A lot of people see, you know, like John Paul White that was in the Civil Wars. They won like 4 or 5 Grammys. It appeared that he was an overnight success, but he's a friend, and I knew the grind. He was a country songwriter for a while. Actually, the Civil Wars style and what they did when I heard it was a shock to me. I didn't anticipate that being a style that he would do, because he was very much a rocker and definitely not an overnight success. You know, I remember my buddy Whitney Dean, who is in the band The Sweeplings, used to be in the band Firewood. They're doing really well. You need to check out The Sweeplings, by the way. He went on tour playing guitar with him, opening for the band Travis in Europe. And that was at least 10 years ago. Like Jason Isbell. People think of him as an overnight success. Definitely not. You know, overnight success is very, very, very rare. It is possible with like YouTube and...
Yeah, it happens.
It happens, but it is a rare thing. We've been around a lot of these guys that you see the grind. You see them working and they're proud of it, and there's a lot to their story. They're human. It's not just rock star. They have their struggles. They have their families. They work pumping gas or sacking groceries or in a plant or whatever up until they could monetize it enough to do it full time.
Which, for the record, that point is often long after most people think.
It really is. And I'm finding that out more. I mean, even people that I find myself, quite frankly, being a little jealous of, like, oh man, I wish I had that guy's gig. He's getting to work here, and find out, man, he's got a day job that he loathes.
Yeah.
But he's doing the same thing. And it's kind of empowering, like, oh, wow, okay, he's doing that too.
Well,
Let's keep
it's-
pushing forward.
I don't want to drop a name, but there's a globally touring band from Huntsville, Alabama. They've been doing it for about 10 to 15 years, and we got to split a bill with them a couple of times last year, headed out west. You check them out on Spotify. I think they have something like 100,000 monthly listeners. I'd have to look at it again. Maybe that's the maximum number of plays they had on their top track. I don't know. Regardless, they're not a nobody. But I know for a fact that when they get home, all those guys have part-time jobs because they were talking about it. They were being real. Oh man, this is one of those times where I wish I had known we were going to talk about this. A band did an AMA on Reddit a couple of years ago. You would know the name of the band if you were into any kind of like post-punk or maybe not even post-punk, maybe hardcore. I wasn't really familiar with the band. I just knew the name. It was a little bit too heavy for me, really. I'll make a long story short. The lead singer was answering questions, and he's like, yeah, when we're not on the road, I have to have a part-time job. And we're talking about a band that is internationally, famous. It's just not the sort of thing that... The money's not there like people think it is.
Well, and if your goal is doing it 100% for the money, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. And at
absolutely,
and at that
absolutely.
point, it's not art anymore. It's
But
just
it was just bizarre to me. It was kind of an eye opener. We're talking about a band that you would recognize, and the lead singer's here saying, "Yeah, I have to have a part-time job."
well, I mean, that's like Jason Isbell and the 400 unit. I've recorded Chad a few times, and it was not that long ago that they were on Tuesday nights playing at DP's
I
in
miss
downtown
that, by the way.
Sheffield. I do too. I miss that place. And that was what, just a few years ago. And they were successful on the road doing things, but
Oh,
you
yeah.
would catch them there. And a dive bar with the drum kit on a pool table. That was the drum riser on the stage.
Oh, yeah.
Which I always thought was hilarious.
Miss DP.
It was a smoky bar, but it was a community kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
Chad and them, I mean, they got a Grammy, and I talked with him a few months ago. The 400 unit got a Grammy this year. And I told him, I was like, man, I'm so glad you guys got the recognition you deserve, because oftentimes the bands don't.
Yeah.
And his band is incredible. Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. Jimbo and Sadler, and I mean, the whole band is stupid amazing. Chad, well, his brother Al Gamble plays with St. Paul and the Broken Bones.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's
Yeah, I
the
had
organ
no
player.
idea.
If you've not heard the Gamble brothers, look it up. Oh my goodness. You want to talk about some great jazz? Like Medeski, Martin, and Wood kind of jazz. Not traditional jazz, but more like heady jazz. That's the level of musicians they are. Anyway, we have a lot of ideas and a lot of plans, so we'll see what happens. This is the podcast without a name. We've got to come up with something pretty
if that
quick.
weren't such a mouthful, I would like that if it weren't such.
I would almost be fine with that. But yeah, so we're excited. See what happens. We'll catch you on the flip side. Peace.